It's the hog style.
We are all super excited to welcome 106.7 The Fan's Danny Rouhier to the show today. Welcome, Danny.
Woo! What's up, guys?
Oh, I am excited.
What's up? We are so excited. You can catch Danny on 106.7 throughout the week. Middays tend to do with Grant Paulson on the Grant and Danny Show on his website, funnydanny.com, where, by the way, you can buy his hilarious stand-up CD, Tell Joke for Super Great Success, and on Twitter, @FunnyDanny. He's got stand-up shows coming up in Leesburg, in Bethesda, and in Fairfax, so check out the website for all the deets. In the meantime, so glad to have you here with us, man.
Yeah. Danny, I really want to just start off by saying, now you probably don't know this because I'm nobody, but I kind of knew who you were way back when you and I both frequently posted on the old Redskins Insider on Washington Post website. And so, I just got to tell you, for like 3 years of you posting there, I just thought you were an older, wiser black man. So,
of course, it's happened many times, guys. I can't tell you how many folks have met me in public for the first time and walk up to a table where we're at, only having heard my voice, this voice that you're hearing right now, and they've gone, you said, hey, where's Danny? And, someone from the station will go, there he is. There's, that stocky red-cheeked idiot. That's that buffoonish clown shoe that you guys are looking for. Mm-hmm. And they'll kind of look me up and down and go, no, Danny Rouhier from the station. Go,
right.
Yeah, this one right here. And 10 different times it's happened in some form or another where they've gone, it's nice to meet you. And I say, there's a reticence in your voice, there's a hesitation. What is it? And each time it's come back to, well, I thought you were black. And I have no idea where that comes from. Just it's not bad or good. Just there's happened to be a lily white preppy kid, and but there's sort of like this weird look on their face, like they're being pranked or something like that. It's like, no, I assure you, this is the real thing. Yeah,
it's the deep bass in your voice, I think, that does it.
I'm certain that's what it is. Yes, and how down I am with popular culture. Yeah. Of course.
Well, when you were posting, you used to use a lot of slang. So that was part of it too. You would mix it in there in between some, references to Valhalla or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, one thing I really want to just go into is how you kind of went from being a comedian in New York to suddenly getting a show here in D.C. And if you could just kind of take us through, how did you make that happen? Because frankly, we're envious, and we've always wanted to make that happen. We've been wanting to make that happen for us for a while now. So we're kind of curious how you convinced or made your way, from there to here.
Sure. Yeah, it's obviously the typical DC radio experience, just to leave, be a stand-up comic in New York, not make any money, and then take the bus back and forth 3 or 4 days a week while being part-time at night and hoping to work your way up. It's pretty much a standard career path. No, I mean, guys, it's
right.
My story's unique in the sense that some of the beats and some of the kind of plots on the graph are unusual, but it's the same as anybody else. It's just something I've always wanted to do, and just kept trying to do it until somebody finally said yes, and then I wouldn't leave. You know what I mean? So I'll give you the basic story. I'm from here, born and raised in the D.C. area. Went to high school here, actually went to college here, played ball at George Washington University. And once I was done, I started doing stand-up in my mid-20s and, have kind of continued doing that, of course. And, was kind of around. I heard some of the rumors, like everybody else, that this station that I'd grown up listening to, that I'd fell in love with personalities on it, like Don and Mike, and, Opie and Anthony, Ron and Fez, and Big O and Dukes a little bit later, and some of the greatest talk radio that's ever been put together, period, end of story, was eventually rumored and rumbling to be switching to sports. And I thought that might be my way in, just like every other person that has ever watched the game and ever made an insightful comment had someone go, you should be a sports commenter, which is, 14% of the television watching population in this country. So, I email and I would, periodically just beg for a Sunday morning at 5 a.m. or anything from anybody over the station, of course, was ignored. I even got to the point where I actually did a demo, believe it or not, before moving to New York with another comedy buddy of mine for a Saturday morning, potential like 6 a.m. kind of show. Was kindly told, no, thank you. We appreciate you coming in now. So finally said, okay, well, let me try to make my sort of moves elsewhere. Moved to New York, dragged my poor now wife, who was a girlfriend at the time, up there with me, where she was working a real job, working really, really hard, and I was doing whatever I could just to pay rent. I was a mover, a painter, not the artsy kind, but just slapping stuff on some walls,
Right.
A temp, a waiter, like everything. Did it whatever I could to pay rent and do stand up at night. And just one of those lucky things where my name happened to come up when a buddy of mine who worked for the New York Knicks at the time was in a pitch meeting with someone from Sirius XM Radio, the Shade 45 channel, which of course is Eminem's network, is again just that hip hop style of line just keeps coming through, just this natural connection there. But they were pitching a show for Nate Robinson, former dunk champion, 5'7" guy that is actually an interesting character. Long and short, they wanted someone to co-host the show with them, and my buddy happened to throw my name in the mix there. And for whatever reason, they let me do it. We did it for a little while. They pulled the plug, the Knicks did, because Nate was going to get traded. But in the interim, I had a little bit of a demo. I had something where I could say I was on Sirius XM, even if it was just in this minimal support kind of capacity. And that kind of all of a sudden, I think, combined with the videos that I was kind of shooting on a weekly basis, trying to be as clever as I could on zero budget with my wife holding the camera in our tiny New York apartment just about the Washington Redskins. Those kind of factors together combined to get my foot in the door to do a guest spot on the Junkies the day before Thanksgiving in 2009. That actually went pretty well. And that day, the program director said, "Hey, would you want to come in and try to, fill in at night once or twice a week as a co-host for Holden Kushner, who was doing the night show by himself for some of those longer shows?" And I, of course, didn't say, "Well, I'm in New York, so it's tough for me." I said yes because I don't want to say no, but then they stop asking.
Right.
So I took the bus down. Each time they'd ask me on a Friday, "Hey, can you come in Monday?" And they'd ask me Monday, "Can you come in Thursday?" And you try to build the schedule as best you could, taking bus after bus after bus, going back up and down. Of course, with no guarantees, it wasn't as if we could just move back down here. And basically, almost 2 years of doing that, where I would ride Bolt Bus, Megabus, Greyhound, kind of whatever the heck else, back and forth between New York and DC for 2-3 days a week over the course of a couple of years. Eventually, kind of was given the night show. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe that it was something that was possible. It seemed closer to me, guys, to play professional baseball than it did to be one of the guys talking about it on the radio. Guys that were on the radio to me were God, growing up when I was younger. And it's cliche, and I apologize for it, but it's one of those things that sometimes I just still can't believe that I get to do it. You know what I mean? And and it's sort of, has grown from there. Obviously, been really fortunate to work with some incredible talents, guys like Grant and Holden and Bill Rowland, who have been so patient with me and helped me more than I could even probably realize or fathom. But yeah, once I got my foot in the door, it just kind of stuck around, been cheap, been available, like Spurrier's wide receivers, and continued to be able to do the show and try to kind of do my own blend of sort of sports through my perspective as a psychotic fan who also has a couple talents, if I can say that without being too much of a dick, that a lot of people don't have, and and that's sort of my niche, is that I can do things that a lot of people can do, is talk about sports. I can also do some things that most people can't, and that's kind of where I always try to sort of maintain that balance between those two things.
Well, awesome. One of those things you can do, Danny, is your stand-up is, really, really. I went and saw you on Friday night. I went to the late show, and you had me laughing so hard I was having trouble breathing towards the end of your set. But I really want to say really quickly, I mentioned to the guys how when I got to the theater, it looked like they actually were arresting someone for heckling in the early show on Friday night.
That's right.
That's what happened?
That is pretty much exactly what happened. So the story, without taking up too much time on this, is there was a table right in front, and the people in the very front were normal folks, and then two people sort of sitting in the back of that front table, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean.
Older bald white gentleman and a black woman with short hair.
Right.
And it started in the MC set where they kind of were chatty a little bit, which happens. Sometimes you're chatty because you're ordering food or drink or any of the million things that can go on at a venue. Then during my set, a couple times early on, they would chat. And then at one point, kind of about 3 or 4 minutes in, as I'm doing jokes, that most people in the place seem to like, all of a sudden, this woman turns, like literally just a full 90-degree pivot to the right and starts clear as day, the way you and I are talking right now, as loudly as you please. Start just saying whatever the hell she's saying, like spouting off, like it's.
You were at
like
the
it's,
older
like
white
perfect
guy.
and normal. Yeah, but just she's talking to her friend, to this white guy, and so it's easier for a headliner to kind of deal with it because he's got much more time, and it's just easier to do. I don't want to ruin the tone of the room, and there's a lot of bits of little inside etiquette that no one cares about. But so I tried to pull the focus, and I walked across the other side of the stage to see if I could, get people to pay attention that way. And she just keeps right on talking. So eventually I had to go back there and I said, hey, is everything okay? If there's some kind of emergency, we should know about it. And she said, no, are you okay? I said, well, I'm fine. I'm trying to do the show for the people in this room here.
Right.
But it seems like you're talking a lot. And she's like, she muttered something. Who knows what she said? I was like, yeah, if you could, if there's nothing wrong, it'd be great if you just didn't talk anymore. Just because, you may not like what I'm doing, but a lot of people here would like to give it a chance. So please do mind.
I just have to
no,
say,
I'm no hero here. I was like, I'm no hero. I just got a lot of stuff I want to get off my chest.
It's crazy. I mean, if you heckle a stand-up comic, you have like the first worldiest of all first world problems. Like, grow up and realize there are issues in the world, and shut up during the comedy show.
I go to a lot of stand-up these days. I have a friend who just loves going to stand-up, so we go all the time together. And it amazes me how often people are heckling. And I'm talking like we went to see Janine Garofalo, and people were heckling her. Like, I would think that you get to a certain level that people would be afraid to do it, but some people have no shame.
A lot of people think they're being part of the show. And that's the problem. It's like that Seinfeld episode where Toby, who had a lot of enthusiasm, who lost the pinky toe, of course, from Elaine's office, he thought it's part of the show. It's part of the show. It's what you do. It's not part of the show. No. But a lot of people don't know that. So the long and short, I'll skip ahead. I know I'm very long-winded. I apologize. I'm filling 4 hours a day. You can see how. So
you never seem to have any trouble doing that, by the way.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, eventually during the headliner set, though, it got to the point where it was so untenable that security had come over a couple different times, told them to pipe down. They didn't, and about 35 minutes into his set, they basically had to escort him out, and the cops are sort of on standby. They kind of know the drill in the area, and so they're out there. They wouldn't leave peacefully. It got worse, and so they're out in front of that of the building down there on Connecticut Avenue, getting cuffed and stuff, Roscoe P. Coltrane style, and the black woman yells, and this is now on video. I've seen it actually online. A guy posted it, who took it. She tried to explain to the officer the reason for her lack of ability to kind of comprehend and kind of focus on his instruction. This is what she said out loud. I swear to goodness, it's on the video. She goes, "I'm high as hell," and that was her explanation to the officer.
I mean, I know it's legal now, but you don't do that.
Precisely. This is not how you justify things to an officer of the law. This is not appropriate for yourself.
Well, it's all material, right? In the end, that in a way.
I suppose that means that was her defense. You must not seem to understand the circumstances here, officer. I'm very high, so that should probably tell you.
Which I sympathize with, but the officer's obviously not going to.
Maybe not in that moment. Not in that moment.
No. So. All right, what's worse then? Heckler when you're on the stage, or all these troll type radio callers? You had some bad ones calling you today. We were all obviously listening to your show today. I try and listen every day. Sometimes I work in a building that blocks your station from getting through, which is
interesting.
Awful. I work for the government. They block a lot of things.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. They're very blocky.
Whenever I can, I do listen. But you had a lot of people. You were actually asking for people to call you guys and kind of troll you on the whole Kirk Cousins versus RG3 thing today. But what would you rather deal with, a heckler or some of those callers, the worst callers?
That's a great question. I mean, with the callers, you got a lot more ability to cut somebody off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the heckler can extend, and if you don't deal with them appropriately, a lot of times it's a guy at a table who's sort of, he's the funny one, or he's drunk, or wants to impress his boys or something like that. You know what I mean? So you put someone in his place, and his pride, he gets all butt hurt, and then it turns into a contest, between the two of you. So that's probably tougher to deal with. I mean, a call you can hang up if a guy's disrespectful, or in the case of, I don't know, a million times over, like when we were talking about Penn State stuff a couple years ago, for example, death threats would come in, and they go, okay, well, now we've got your phone number and we reported to the authorities, you know what I mean? So those are easier things to deal with, I think, than the live in-person confrontation.
Makes sense. Yeah. Though it makes total sense. I imagine either one's really very fun to deal with.
Yeah, I know. Either way, it's because someone's displeased. But at the end of the day, I mean, let's start with heckling, guys. I mean, at first it was really hard to do a show and then see stuff about yourself, talking about me, online that is just like either not true or biting or really mean or, you know, dismissive. Like, this guy's an idiot. It's just we have different opinions about sports. And at first I was on this kind of crusade just to say, no, listen, I'm one of you. Let me try to explain myself, you know, and it never made it any better. And what I learned was a couple different things. Was if somebody's mad at you, it means they care, at least on some level, about what you think. And it means that they're listening or engaged in what you're doing somehow. And I know that sounds very like, whatever, man, y'all just hate. I know it sounds like that, but there really is something to that, where if somebody's passionate enough to give you a call, it means they've heard what you've said. They may have heard what they wanted to hear, but at the end of the day, it's about ears listening to what it is that you're doing. And if everybody agreed, it would be the most boring, dumb thing in the world, regardless of the level of information of an opposition opinion. So if somebody's mad at me or hates me because I disagree with them about sports, it means on some level they do care about what I think. And that, at the end of the day, is kind of what we're all going for. So it was tough. It took me a few years, honestly, to get used to that, just because it's hard to be insulted, you know what I mean, on sort of a daily basis, and see some of the things written about you on Twitter. But but yeah, it's something that I have been able to get over for the most part. Every once in a while, someone will actually insult me correctly, and that really stinks. And then I'm ruined for the rest of the day.
Well, I only kiss your ass on Twitter, so I think I'm okay in that respect.
There you go.
One thing I'm wondering, you've been doing this for years now, and we obviously love your show. How would you say your shtick has evolved over the years, as a comic and as the sports radio personality that you are?
It's a good question. I think at first, because of my background in stand-up, I was really concerned about being taken seriously as a sports talk guy.
Right.
So I think probably my weakness, if I was to sort of self-diagnose at first, was I need to behave in a way that I think a sports talk guy would behave. Does that make sense? So it was almost when I first started doing stand-up, and I didn't know any better, I didn't have anybody tell me, hey, dude, stop doing it like this. But I was basically doing a hybrid of Brian Regan and Mitch Hedberg. So I don't know if you're familiar with those guys.
Of course. Good call-outs.
So I would vacillate between, like, I'm doing this laid-back thing, like Mitch Hedberg. Then I'd be like, I have 4 bags of ramen noodles.
2 plus 2 equals chicken.
I mean, I was completely awful. I had no idea how awful I was because I was sort of doing someone else's stuff. I wasn't like stealing jokes, but like that was someone else's voice. And it took me a while to kind of find my thing. And once I found my thing, it was like, okay, I can settle in and start to get better as myself. Kind of the same thing I think happened to radio guys. It's like doing anything else, that's hosting a show, riding a bike, doing the stunts or whatever. It took me a while to kind of find, okay, this is the balance where I can absolutely be serious, I can be pissed off, I can be myself in appropriate moments, but also add kind of the levity when it's called for. Kind of knowing when to pull those punches or take swings was sort of my biggest challenge in development. I feel like now I'm in a pretty good place, kind of knowing when to hold them, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, quick, you said you felt a little nervous being on a sports show, but I might be wrong because I might be missing one or two, but you're one of the few guys actually on your station every day that actually played at the college level, aren't you? So in a way, you're the most seasoned athlete.
It's kind of strange to think about it that way. I mean, it's so long ago that we're all just a bunch of washed up dudes in various capacities. But yeah, I mean, Jason played college basketball from the Junks, and he's obviously a bit older than I am. But yeah, I mean, so I don't know that it necessarily gives me better insight to speak co-sports than maybe somebody else in the market. But it's the type of thing where I've always sort of approached things kind of the way I did with sports, where there have always been more talented guys than me. I learned that at a young age. And literally, I thought my ass didn't stink. And I got to the kind of state tournament level and said, "Oh, there are a couple guys like me. Wow, this is a lot." And of course, you get older and older, and you watch guys that are going to be superstars. I went to a Best in Virginia showcase, thinking that I was one of the best in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that they assign you a number, they tell you it's at random. It isn't. The guy that won number 1 was a dude named Michael Kadire, who now actually just announced his retirement. Who played in the big leagues for a number of years, hit .300, has a 30 homer season. He was number one, and there's a reason he was number one. He was on a level that I could never have possibly approached if you gave me 1,000 years to play. And so learning that really quickly, I go, well, here's what I can do. I can control certain things. I can control my preparation, my information, and sort of my own delivery of my viewpoints. Mm-hmm. So my goal was to never be out-informed by somebody. Does that make any sense? Some guys probably are more innately able to deliver a sports talk opinion maybe than I am, or could do things more succinctly, but I can't let somebody have more information than me. Does that make any sense? So I consume a lot of it as best I can, whether it's varying opinions, whether it's obviously the games themselves, or we don't talk much Wizards, to be honest with you, because they're struggling and they're mediocre. Well, you know what's on in the background right now? The Washington Wizards. In case it comes up, I want to be able to reference what happened in the second quarter when San Antonio went big against the Wizards going small, went on a run, and now they're up by 2 points before the half, and this could be the turning point. I want to be able to do that if it comes up on the show.
Sure.
And speaking of consuming, and also with your shtick, obviously you're very big on pop culture, much like the three of us are. The nerd culture is so big now, especially with how movies, Marvel's spitting out movies every year, it seems like, and you got DC that's coming on with their stuff. What would you say, how do you like to compare football and comic books? Like, you bring that to the table in your radio show. It's funny how you compare it and make like metaphors. You bridge the gap and make metaphors. It's awesome.
Oh, I appreciate that, guys. It's nice of you to say. It's also nice of you to notice. I think really it's just like anything else. It's what you know. You know what I mean? I've got a gap. Like I don't reference the Gilmore Girls. I'm not referencing Dawson's Creek. I'm referencing what I know, and what I know are Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, pop culture movies like Tombstone and The Matrix, and things from my '80s TV shows that I watched, and
right.
You know what I mean? Just sort of my age group. So there's a huge gap where I can't make those references. You know what I mean? And it would be disingenuous to kind of do so. So I don't think there's anything necessarily remarkable about that. I think, again, there's a comfort level to it. Just sort of as soon as you know what you are, you know what you like, you throw the bait in the water. I mean, there are times there's just a really, really nice girl, actually, that's a P1 of ours. It's like in her car all day long. And she listens to it, so she's making her sales calls, and probably listens just at the timing of the day, listens to 85% of our show every day, and has come to a number of events and stuff. Anyway, the point we're bringing this up isn't to brag that we have female listeners, but it's to
that's hard. Hey, that's hard to get.
It's more than we have.
Absolutely. Well, start to get people to do anything, as far as I'm concerned. But and she goes, I only get about a third of what you say. I only get about a third of your references. And I feel so proud when I do get one, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
and that kind of
funny.
stuck with me for whatever reason, where it's like, if I casually drop like I'm like the little kid, the fifth lion on Voltron. Are people really going to get that? Or should I keep that one in the holster? You know what I mean? It's like kind of knowing when to use the right bullets on that. But yeah, I think again, at the end of the day, most of the time we're talking about sports. It's stuff that, it's supposed to be a distraction. There's got to be a fun element to it. I think we've evolved past the days of this is what this guy's stats were, this is what this guy's stats were, so this guy with this stat is better than that guy with that stat. Right. And will they win the next game, yes or no? I think we've moved past the era of some of the pioneers of it, just because I think it's more personality-driven now in sports radio than it's ever been, really.
Real
it's
quick.
pretty much cool to be a nerd right now anyway. like I said earlier, it's the hip thing now.
Speaking of being a cool nerd, I got to tell you, I still miss, I used to listen to the Nerds Watch all the time when you and Chad would do your Game of Thrones post show. So I still miss that.
Yeah.
I know why it ended, but I was a fan.
I appreciate that. I was a fan too. I enjoyed making those, is what I will say. But I realize that sort of didn't answer your question about kind of nerdiness and the like. It's just, again, I don't think it's that complicated. It really is. It's genuine. It's what I really like, and I know I'm sort of a dichotomy. This like what's supposed to be like a jock who played in the locker room full of guys that hate everything that I'm talking about. But like, I used to have to hide that stuff. You guys remember where it was like you weren't allowed to tell people that you were a Star Wars fan? Or, I used to. The first story I remember was my parents reading Lord of the Rings to me before I fell asleep, and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
It used to be just that you had to hide that. It was it was almost like a heroin addiction. And now it's like I'm arguing the merits of Deadpool over why they can't make a good Fantastic Four movie. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like a different era to be in, and I like this one better.
Well, that's funny. That's actually, you brought up, you segged perfectly into a question that I really wanted to ask you, which is, what are you more excited for? And I promise, we want to get to Redskins too, but I've got to ask you this question. What are you most excited for? Batman vs. Superman, Captain America Civil War, Deadpool, or Suicide Squad?
For me, it's a great question. I think now listen, this is something I may be telling myself here. I'm not as big a comic book guy as you might actually think about me. I skimmed sort of the world of comic books. I was more of a baby pool comic book guy, not necessarily like the deep dive that other guys have.
I get that.
To me, it was more movies, pop culture, video gaming. Obviously, I'm pretty extensive there. But I will say that Civil War storyline to me is the best fodder for film. You know what I mean? That to me struck the best chord because of sort of the large scale of it. It always kind of felt small to me, if that made any sense. Some of these other comics, even though it's like Batman versus Superman, obviously this global scale would be impacted, right? But it still feels like, well, this is just kind of Gotham. They're just sort of fighting over Gotham, and we'll see what happens. And Superman's now a demigod, and Batman's got some armor. That's cool. But it's being manipulated, but it felt small to me. Whereas the Avengers always felt state of the world type stuff. That always felt the gravity to me, and that kind of decision, I could actually make arguments for both sides as to who's right, as to how they should be deployed. So that storyline, to me, I just think is so kick-ass. So it's probably Cap America, Civil War for me.
Yeah.
Great answer. Great answer.
And I think the second Captain America is one of the best Marvel movies, so I'm inclined to agree with you in a lot of ways.
The first one terribly edited, for the record. Just someone who failed and went to film school for college. The first one's a terribly edited movie if you go back and watch it.
First Captain America, not anything special.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, look, I have one more nerd culture question, which is just that we have to ask you because Star Wars comes out on Friday. When was the last time you were this excited?
1999. I was fooled, and that's why I promised myself I wasn't going to go down this rabbit hole, and all of a sudden I'm answering questions from a goddamn Cheshire cat, dude. I can't help it. I thought I was going to be able to control myself, and then I saw the effing preview where Han Solo told Chewie that he was home, and this salty moisture came out of my eyes, and I was like, that's it. I'm in. There's now, I can't not consume it. I have consumed every interview, whether it's J.J. Abrams going to Comic-Cons, whether it's him on Howard Stern talking about the behind-the-scenes business stuff, whether it's YouTube videos of Daisy Ridley watching the release of the trailer, whether it's John Boyega being excited about his potential 2 seconds of camera time holding a lightsaber against Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell it is, I have consumed it. I can't help it. It's not that I need this to be good. It's beyond that.
Sure.
I need this thing to be effing great. So what I'm going to do is see it once tomorrow night. Okay, that's Thursday night, all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Then that's by myself, undisclosed location. Then Friday I'm going with some friends. Then I'm going with a couple other people on Saturday. I was trying to squeeze in one Sunday morning as well, but I value my marriage. So I'm not going to do that.
That's stressing the marriage, man.
Yeah, my wife held up kind of a piece of paper with the word divorce written on it. So we'll see. But so I'm going to save Sunday. But I'll be going again multiple times over the course of it. I have not been this excited since '99, and of course we know what happened. I mean, I got fooled. I even actually blindly defended the movie for a time simply because I wanted to be good so bad. But we all know what happened.
Right.
Just remember, the previews looked great. Everything about it looked like it was supposed to look, and it was sleek. It was modern. Maybe a little bit too much CGI, but that was the time. That's what we're doing.
Right. The preview ended with a double lightsaber, for crying out loud.
And then Jar Jar.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, listen, I didn't know it was going to be like that. I didn't know that was going to make me want to put my own hand on my own chest like Mola Ram and throw my heart up in the air and shoot it with 75 laser pistols. I did not know it was going to be that bad. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I need this thing to be great, guys.
Yeah. I think America's with you on that too. And you know what? I think it will be. I have major faith.
I hope so.
So look, do you have a couple more minutes for us? Because I could talk to you about this all day, but we should probably ask you a couple questions about the Redskins.
Of course, yeah. Whatever you guys want to do, it's your show.
Okay, well, look, we just have to ask you. Look, we're gearing up for the last few games. Are we going to get our first back-to-back win of the season? And second, what can we expect through the rest of this season?
You, I mean, how can you answer that without a cliche? You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought about, we talked about this on the show since going into the Chicago game, and you go, well, you're either going to have to break a trend that's troubling. You're either going to have to do something that they haven't done, and do that a couple times to get where they want to go this season, or it's more of the same, where you think you've got something, and then they pull the rug out from underneath you, like they did against the Dallas Cowboys. So they just looked completely unprepared and overwhelmed, and just, what do you mean you can blitz to the A gap? What do we do about that for the
right.
possession? So it's hard for me to say what to expect. Just in terms of the matchup, though, guys, Buffalo was supposed to be kind of a mirror image of this Washington team, where the defense, they're going to get after people with a little bit of a gimmick type offense. So that's obviously different. But they were designed to run the football, stop the run, cause turnovers, get after the passer. They've been really bad on defense, remarkably bad. Given Rex Ryan's history, given some of their personnel, I know they've had some injuries, but they're in the teens in terms of sacks. That's not them. That's not what the Buffalo Bills are doing last year. Remember that run they went on where they shoved it on Peyton, they shoved it on Aaron Rodgers, and they had this incredible defensive team. You thought now with Greg Roman as the coordinator, they could do some things. And that's the thing that's scary, is Tyrod Taylor on offense. You know the Redskins' history with mobile quarterbacks. It's like, having a known racist in your neighborhood. You don't want to deal with it. I ultimately don't love just the matchup on paper, because the Redskins offensively, to me, can't necessarily do enough to take advantage of bad D's, kind of the New Orleans games notwithstanding. You know what I mean? It's like you can ring the bell for 20-some points against the Giants. Well, the good offenses will put up 30-something. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's a coin toss game for me. I think that's the way the rest of their games are going to go. And, you could pick heads, and it might be like the third kind of coin the Two-Face had, where the head scratched out. I don't even know how you rate that. So I think the answer, unfortunately, is impossibly unexpected, whatever that happens to be for Sunday. And it could also mean, by the way, they walk out and roll, because Buffalo kind of lost their mojo for the season in losing that game with the Eagles that they absolutely should have won last week. So who knows if they roll over.
Right.
Yeah. It's a great point. And, I mean, just logically following from that, with all that in mind that you just said, we're at the top of the division. Are we the best team in the NFC East?
Do we win this division?
Well, those are two
Well,
different things, right?
I think, guys, that's two different questions. That's two different questions. The best team in the damn division, as wretched as they've been, is the Giants. They should be 11-2 if the game ended with 58 minutes and 35 seconds to go.
Right.
The numbers are just staggering at how inept they've been at late game management. So they're, despite kind of their vast and obvious glaring deficiencies, they've really played the most minutes of good football this year, if that makes any sense. And that's even a metric you can use for anything. The Eagles, I think, are a dramatic disappointment. Not for me as a Redskins fan. Obviously, I want them to suffer and all their fans to be sad in perpetuity as they burn in hellfire for all their sins against humanity. But in terms of just evaluating them, they're an utter disappointment for what they should be this season. I still think they're very dangerous, and you've seen them kind of get right here these last couple of weeks, sort of circling the wagon. So I think they end up winning the division. I think the Giants are the best team, but the Giants have too difficult a schedule and have dug themselves too much of a hole, if that makes any sense. Unfortunately, I do think Philadelphia ends up winning this thing at 8-8.
You think Philadelphia?
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
They're on fire right now.
I could kind of see
what that
anything
would
happening,
include.
though.
Yeah.
Well, of course, but it would include them in that must-win game for everyone that's playing, and a win against the Redskins. I think they probably lose this game to Arizona this weekend, and then maybe hit their birdie to end the season in a winner-take-all matchup against the Giants. But again, I could see a trillion scenarios, and some of them are good for the Redskins, others are devastating. So, who knows?
Well, fun little thing. I was playing with ESPN has their little calculate what the playoffs will be based on wins and losses. If the Redskins and Giants go undefeated, I think that in theory both teams could still make the playoffs, which would be absurd. But
That'd be crazy.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, like we're the laughingstock of the NFL as the NFC East, and that could still end up happening.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a kind of a question. I mentioned earlier you were talking a lot about the whole Kirk Cousins and Jay Gruden and kind of just inviting people to criticize them on your show today. Are you pretty much in the camp that they both should be back, and that's part of? I know you like to talk about go through the right process of building a franchise. Mm-hmm. Are you pretty much all on them both being here as part of the, at least for the near term?
I wouldn't make them part of the furniture, guys. I don't think it's necessarily, now it's a give situation, contract it whenever he wants it for life. I would more point towards, what metrics can we use to evaluate? A lot of people will sort of say, let's look at last year where I was as critical of Jay Gruden as anybody, and I don't take any of that back. I think I was dead right in that criticism.
Well, we were a bad team, it's fair.
Did he improve upon those things that I criticized him for? And in every metric that you can evaluate coaching, and some of it is nebulous, and some of it's really hard to figure out whether it's coaching or not coaching.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, the mechanics of plays getting in on time, this fiasco of the delay of the game and the timeout this past week, notwithstanding. But are they burning timeouts in the third quarter when they're going to need them late in the second half? Are they are there delay of game penalties on a consistent basis? Do you have the quarterback staring at the sideline with his arms wide open, going, "What the hell is the play?" With 10 seconds on the play clock a bunch of times. You don't see that. It looks like a smooth, organized operation. Challenges, again, clock management, sort of the mechanics of being a head coach that need to be flawless so you don't cost your team. Not necessarily giving the team too much benefit on a weekly basis, but you don't cost them. Absolutely. Have they rolled over and died at any point? You wouldn't say that they have. Have they competed, been resilient? Yeah, those senior coaching metrics you can kind of follow. Is Jay Gruden the best coach in the NFL right now? I don't think so. But has he improved dramatically? Yeah. And then you kind of go, okay, well, what's the ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same kind of conversation you're having about the quarterback. He's better than he's been. But that's unequivocal. The debate then becomes, do you pay him like you got to pay a star? Do you pay him like you got to pay a starting franchise quote-unquote quarterback? Are you going to become the Baltimore Ravens? Like you paid Joe Flacco, they're not winning until that contract is over because it's too damn much money for a guy that can't overcome deficiencies of people around him on a 16-game type schedule. So in the moment, it's easy to say, yeah, they should both be back. But there's a breaking point here, guys, with Cousins. If somebody comes in and gives him a Godfather offer, for the sake of argument, let's say the Houston Texans tell him, we'd like you to be our quarterback. We believe this much in you. How's $18 million a year sound? Enjoy your time in Houston, Mr. Cousins. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but you can't do that, no.
If it's a deal that's probably benefits both sides, where everybody walks away grumbling a little bit in the range of what a starting quarterback makes now, which is still a ton of money, it's that 12, 13, 14 $million range, which again is just staggering to think about. But that's kind of the marketplace for journeyman backups are typically in the 5 to 6 range. You get to the starters, there's a huge jump right there up to the 12, 13, 14 range. You probably presumably need him at that level to do that. As long as there's kind of outs for the club, where at minimum he's a caretaker, at maximum he is the answer, I could absolutely get down with that. But you can't break the bank, and you can't make him the definitive in case this is the ceiling, which is admittedly slightly maybe above average, but not enough to say, hey, here's your quarterback. Where there's if there's 7 guys injured on offense, it's going to will you to victory against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 17. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So no $25 million exclusive franchise option for Kirk Cousins.
You can't have that in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
That destroys your whole franchise.
Well, Danny, it's been awesome having you on. I wanted to kind of end this thing, or at least my part. Alex has told me that you're very you do a lot of voices. I mean, obviously we've heard of some tonight, but you specifically are very talented in impressions. I myself happen to do a lot of impressions and enjoy it and want to be a voice actor someday, all that kind of stuff. But I want to know what your favorite voice impression is. Who do you like to impersonate?
I tell you, I go through these phases, and I don't know if this is the answer you were looking for, but I kind of get on one, and I always try to work it in. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense? Like it's like a new toy. It's like you guys are like my. I'm just thinking of my 2-year-old terms. He's got a whole closet, like a chest full of toys, but he gets a new one, and that's the toy for 6 weeks, man. And then he goes back and plays with the other ones again.
Right.
It's kind of like that for me. So lately, the one I've been doing
still like
the
that.
most is just exactly. I know the one I've been sort of sneaking in, even at times where it doesn't even fit, is my Jerry Jones. I've been doing a lot of Jerry Jones.
I've picked up on that on your show a little bit. Yeah. For a
ready?
while, you were doing the Larry Michael a lot, and Milton's always good. I noticed you pull Milton out in your stand-up a little bit. But yeah, I have picked up on the Jerry Jones, especially on Fridays.
Absolutely, that's a good catch by you for sure.
One of my go-tos, Danny, is Peter Griffin. I do a pretty good Peter Griffin. Everyone's got a Walken. I do a Christopher Walken.
Of course.
It's just so much fun. I love cracking people up, especially friends and family doing it. I also understand that you do a John Gruden.
That is correct. Yes.
I happen to do it Jay Gruden. I was thinking it'd be funny if we do a little quick Gruden brothers conversation. What do you
With
say?
our powers combined.
Like a Gruden, the Gruden bus interview before Monday Night Football type thing.
Danny, Robbie's really begging that someday you might want to do that on your guys' show, and he someday wants to do it. So he won't tell you that, but that's what's going on here.
I didn't say that.
We're shameless on the Hogstide, Danny.
Listen, that's you think a hog is nervous when he approaches that trough? He's not going after you, sir. Please take a moment to digest the moon's boost. You put your whole nose in there. God bless you.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, so pretend I'm Jay in the Gruden bus before Monday Night Football. He's doing his little film breakdown, and Jay's the one sitting across from him. Quick little convo.
Got it.
What do you think?
I'll tell you something right here, man. And I like what you're doing here. You stack the receivers on the right-hand side. It's like when we were kids, you used to stack the blocks, and I would come in with the football, and I would throw them at the blocks, and you would cry like a little bitch because that's what you are.
Well, I don't quite understand what you're going with that. Don't recall all that happening. I was a little banged up when it happened, but I'm okay now. So now I'm coaching and you're not. So what do you think about that, brother?
I get a lot of phone calls to come back and coach. When was the last time you got a phone call from anybody other than Robert Griffin begging for playing time? I'm going to tell you something, Mike. I get more phone calls per day than Jay Gruden gets in a calendar month. And Jay Gruden's one of the guys that calls me. Jay Gruden, I'm like, he likes to call me on the phone and go, what'd you think of this play? And I don't tell him because it's competitive advantage. And then I do tell him offline when we have Thanksgiving din. I tell you something, he flips away sweet potatoes like it's nobody's business, Mike. And it's kind of embarrassing when it gets going.
Brother, I really love your the pie that you make for Thanksgiving. By the way, the Spider 2-Eye banana pie. It's delicious stuff. I bring it to the players every day before meetings, and I say, hey, this is our play. We're going to run this, and we're going to eat this pie. Robert, you don't get any of it, okay?
What you're looking for in a pie, guys, what's your first read on the pie? You're going to look at the fruit. That's a mistake. What you want to do is freeze the eyes of your opponent by looking crust. Now, if you want to cream that pie, put a whipped cream directly on top of the crust, but make sure your bites are even size. You want to go, you start over bite, next thing you know, you got Sean Lee coming backside to steal away your delicious apple turnover cake. I'll tell you what, I'm a big pie eater. I enjoy consuming pie. Let's put it in my mouth, chew a couple times. I swallow it down, I eat it, and I gain weight in my midsection, Mike.
Yeah, I obviously eat a lot of it because I'm a little bit fatter than you are, John. But I was actually wondering if we could talk a little bit of football. I got a little bit of a problem with the running game. You got any advice for me?
Come on down to the FFCA, brother. I'll tell you what we'll do is get on the practice field with a bunch of guys that are walk-ons at a local high school program. We'll break down a couple things. Knock, who's there? It's a fullback. Use one, choose one. His name's Darrell Young. He's already on your roster. Might want to get familiarized with him. Tell Bill Callahan of Callahan Auto Parts. And why don't you simmer down, use a fullback, stop putting tight ends out there that block the way our younger sister does. And just to give you an idea, Mike, she doesn't block real well. So here's what I'm doing if I'm you. I'm running 11 offensive linemen out there, having one of them carry the football. They'll fumble Ruski, Mike. I'm using that to make sure I get forward progress to set up my play action game. You can't have play action without any action. And right now, you're getting as much action as a seventh grader with acne at a school dance, Mike.
Yeah, I think I'm going to convert Tom Compton to tight end next year. I'm going to change his number.
Makes about as much sense as one yen in a currency exchange, but I got to tell you something, Jay. I enjoyed the conversation, and to me, Compton reminds me of Ice Cube and Dr. Dre yelling Compton on an NWE record. I love those guys. Those guys bring a lot of enthusiasm when they're rapping. Usually the victim here is a white person, but I'm fine with that, Mike, because they're angry, and that sells records.
Well, thank you for having me on, John. Looking forward to a good game.
I would tell you it's a pleasure, but I'd be lying to your face, Jay. I don't like to do that. I don't like to do that at the dinner table. I don't like to do that on phone conversations. If it's about you and me, there is no you and me. Just like Jules in Pulp Fiction, you get gone and you stay gone, Mike.
That was amazing. That was awesome, you guys.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, hey, guys. God,
My God. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. That is the voice of Danny Rouhier. Hilarious stuff.
Yeah. Well, they did not hear it here first. They heard it on he has a show. So they
Well, you heard the conversation here first.
Yeah.
That's what you heard.
Gruden brothers.
I don't get all those references that John Gruden was making. It was like all these pop culture things from a certain time period. Why did he do that? I was like,
You can never know. You can never get inside that man's head.
That's perfect.
no, you cannot. No, you cannot.
No.
Although his password on all his ATM stuff is Spider 2 White Banana. So.
Oh, that's a long
likely.
password.
All right, well, Danny, thank you so much again. Hey, everybody, please check out Danny on Twitter at Funny Danny. He's also got a show at the Tally Ho Theater in Leesburg on Friday. So, going up against Star Wars, but if you're not at the movies, head on over that way. Danny Rouhier, ladies and gents.
If you like to laugh, it's worth going to Danny's show.
I
so
appreciate
much,
it, guys.
Danny.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Hey, Danny, one last thing. I heard you say on your show today that at some point you want to get on your soapbox on a podcast and just rant about Mike Shanahan for a couple hours. If you ever want to come on here and do that, you're welcome to do it.
or anything.
That's a great pull. I try to shoehorn a Mike Shanahan's a dick topic. I probably shouldn't say that, but I try to shoehorn that like once a week into a show meeting, and of course I get shot down because it's just time and a place.
Well, and he comes on your show
but,
a couple times, so.
Yeah, there is also that. But listen, he's a great guest. I mean, obviously, Super Bowl winning coach with kind of a unique insight to a lot of players and different things. So it's clearly worth it as a guest. And I have no interest in burning that bridge because it's clearly more valuable than my butt hurt feelings and opinions on what he did or didn't do as a personnel exec here in town. But I may pick you up on that offer.
Awesome. That's more maturity than we have between the three of us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not necessarily mature when I'm pouting and when I don't get my way in that regard. That's why we get to the show early. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, Danny, thank you again. Thank you for kind of moving your schedule around a little bit and making this work. I know we all kind of had to adjust things because of Star Wars coming out tomorrow. So.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate being flexible. I completely forgot that. I'm like, I'm going to go see that, and I still can't. I probably can't do your podcast from the theater.
There'll be people talking in the theater. It'll be fine.
I know, right?
All right.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Danny.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Boys, had a blast, man. Appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Well. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. He hung up.
Holy shit.
Oh,
that was hilarious. Great. All right, well, there you go. You heard it here first, our interview with Danny Rouhier. That was pretty fucking hilarious, guys. That was awesome. That was my favorite interview.
Well,
that was the best.
I'm still, giddy. You guys know, I kind of mentioned this to him before. I was more excited and nervous for this than some of the big-name former players we've had.
Yeah.
So, I'm on cloud nine right now, guys. You can't say a guy who's only like 2 or 3 years older than you is one of your idols, but it's about as close as it gets for me. So that's great.
He's living the dream that we all share, basically.
Exactly.
I mean, he's doing what we all want to do. Like he's living the life, and hearing that was one of the coolest parts of the interview is hearing how he got into that stuff. I feel like we're doing some of the stuff you want to do in terms of, we're doing something, which is this show. I mean, it's just awesome to see what somebody at the other end of their, success.
He busted his ass to get there too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh yeah, he did. He kind of makes light of it, but a guy like that, you can tell he probably put in a lot of hard legwork.
A lot of mileage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We said this during the interview, and I know Alex and I have agreed. And Robbie, I'm sure you're in the same boat. Just that we have all been listening to Danny since he was like on the night show. I used to work retail when he had that show at night. Drive home, listen to him on the way back when the store would close. Hilarious. I mean, it's just such a crazy thing to think that we just started this less than a year ago, and now we talk to this guy that we're all such fans of.
Yeah. Well,
awesome stuff.
I mentioned it in the beginning. The only reason I knew him or was able to, talk to him at all is because he was a commenter on Redskins Insider, and so was I, and somehow we became Facebook friends via that. And I think that happened before his show. It might have happened before his show. I don't remember, but and that's how I was able to at least ask him. We
had our in.
Yeah, we had an in. And to be honest, I probably could have done it, early on in our show, but I was afraid to. I fear rejection like nobody else.
We were a young puppy little podcast. We're a cute little podcast.
Yeah. Now, we didn't talk a lot of Redskins in this podcast. We're going to do a preview show for the Bills game tomorrow night.
As always.
So,
this is how we do things.
Yeah. So Steve will be back for that one. He couldn't make it for this show, and also he doesn't really like to talk comedy. He just wants to talk football all the time. So
He's not a Marvel dude.
Can't
No.
blame him for that, though.
No.
We're all diehard football fans.
we-
He would have
get
hated
that.
this interview.
Yeah, he would. Let's be
He's
honest.
going to hate this interview.
We said as much when we were all talking about it. We're all a little different. He's a more I want to talk football all the time guy, and we're also nerds.
We all share many passions.
Yes.
Yes.
Though
I feel like Danny Rouhier's passions are a carbon copy of my own. If I ever had like a primetime radio show, I'd probably talk a lot about Star Wars.
I talk about everything. Star Wars, video games.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's the way to do it.
An assortment of talk about food. They love to talk about food on his show. We didn't even get into that. So
God, yeah, Chad Dukes and his food too. My goodness.
Yeah.
That's one thing we
wrestling.
haven't gotten into. We did that a little bit. We talked about meals at stadiums once, a long time ago.
yeah,
We should
and
do an updated piece on that.
well, I was at one point
Off-season.
considering. I don't even know if we're going to add this part into the show at this point, but we're off the rails, so who cares? I was one point considering doing what I tend to do in the season, which is I make something for each week based off of who we're playing. So, it's a regional dish based off of the opposing team.
You
So
eat a
buffalo
dolphin
wings.
when we play Miami.
Well, you can get some dolphin fish, yeah.
You eat a buffalo.
No, for buffalo, it's always been buffalo wings.
Of course.
Buffalo wings. This
I
is
mean,
fair, but that's
'cause-
not real buffalo. That's not fitting with your tradition.
Well,
from the
it's not
buffalo.
eating the
You gotta
mascot.
slaughter a buffalo.
I mean, one, I will eat bison anytime you put it in front of me. I don't care about that, but
Bison burgers are pretty damn good.
yeah, or some braised bison, delicious. Here's what you do. Put on your Redskins jersey, go down to the Native American Museum, go to their food court. It is
Oh,
the
easy.
best food court
Easy.
on the mall.
That may be a bad idea of something to do.
All right, maybe
We
you
cannot
don't.
endorse that activity.
The
And
FCC does not hear our conversations.
We do not claim liability for if you do that and you get hurt by somebody.
Okay. Maybe you don't put on the Redskins jersey, but go there. They make an amazing braised bison with fried bread. Just delicious. It's expensive, but if you're ever on the National Mall, that's where you eat.
I haven't had that. A bison burger. I bet it's chewy, but
No.
delicious.
Bison's very lean.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's good for you.
It's like
Wow.
it tastes like beef, but it's got the fat content of chicken.
Best of both worlds. No wonder they went extinct.
Yeah.
It's just so expensive.
Too soon?
No.
All right, fellas. Well, I guess we should close it out there. Everybody's going to be enthralled with our interview anyway. Nobody cares about us.
Yeah.
But we'll be back with you, obviously, later this week. We got a big game coming up for in Buffalo, so be prepared for that. We'll be back, obviously, with you after that as well for the recap. And let's go. Let's keep going with this season, guys. Things
Let's
are
roll.
things are heating up.
Let's win this division,
And
damn it.
remember, if you get wings, blue cheese only. Ranches for weirdos.
You're crazy.
What?
I'm a blue cheese fan, but I mean, we can't end the show on that note, dude. Come on.
No. I was going to cut it at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good, because you might inflame some ranch.
No, it's ranch!
Right.